Baptists That Amish Chick. Let's get into it.
'Tis the season for church camp. We're going to talk about church camp today. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, probably some serious things, probably some funny things, probably some things that people should have thought about before they did. And so we're going to have that discussion. So where do we want to start today, guys?
Well, we all know that you have a story that we're all just dying to hear.
Yes. Listen, you can't mention that when we're planning and then not expect us to want to hear.
Let's go.
We've waited long enough.
I mentioned the story, what was it, a week and a half ago? Something like that. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you. So
we've been waiting.
Yeah.
So I went to Baptist church camp, Independent Fundamental Baptist church camp. So this is like the era of like wear your knee-length shorts. You might have to wear men's basketball shorts there, right? So like this is
for what?
Because
for recreation
to cover your knees.
Oh, for like
to cover your knees.
Like when you're out doing like did you do games and stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
You couldn't wear your jean skirts for that, right?
Well, yeah. She's like, we only had to wear skirts for chapel, right? We only had to wear them for chapel.
So what would you wear outside? Basketball shorts? Is that
that's what they wanted you to wear because they wanted to make sure they covered your knees. Depending on who you were, you guys have heard my stories enough. I always get in trouble for my clothes. Okay,
is the knees in the Independent Fundamental Baptist?
Yeah,
is that like
the Amish ankle?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Gee.
The knees are
it's literally a different joint. Why is it the joints?
Scandalous. There's movement.
In multiple directions.
What kind of joints did you have, Leslie?
Well,
the rolled up ones, or
the ones where the statute of limitations has run out.
No, I'm joking.
I'm kidding.
It hasn't run out.
It has.
Okay.
So I can talk about it without getting in trouble. No, I am kidding. Not at church camp.
So
I'm just not kidding.
Saying it
Just not at church camp.
Yeah.
The things you didn't know.
Now we do.
We're about to know more from you.
From me. Yeah. So like super conservative dressing there, right? A lot of the counselors would actually, or the female counselors would wear men's cargo shorts because like they had pockets and stuff because they're like being counselors. And which is super funny because I feel like if that happened nowadays, they would say something about the way they're dressing and that they are trying to identify as something different. So I always found that interesting.
That's not what I was about to say. I was like, nowadays that would be taken a way different direction.
Yeah, and maybe they even I should go like to the camp website and see what the counselors are wearing and look at pictures because I wonder because like that was most of my thoughts where I was like, you guys talk about like men and women needing to dress differently, but you're making the women wear men's shorts.
But you're making them wear technically the same thing.
Yeah, so men's shorts because you want to make sure that it's below the bottom of their knee. And that has nothing to do with the story I'm gonna tell you guys, but no, it just has the perspective of like of what like the dress code was like there. But I remember being it was at youth camp, not high school camp. So I would have had to been under 7th grade, so 6th grade or under. And the counselors would always get together at night and do like different things, right? You always had like a devotional every night that you did. They give like a little message from the Bible before bed, basically your nighttime devotionals, and they talk about it and stuff. And then this night, 2 of the cabin counselors decided to do it together. So we got all the girls into one cabin instead of in 2. And they're like, all right, we're going to do a skit for you guys. I can't even remember if there was a point to this skit because as a 6th grade, very conservative Baptist girl, 4 counselors come walking in with thong panties on their hands, holding their hands up like they're guns and swinging their panties around their fingers around the cabin as some sort of skit for us, which I'm like, this is not a normal camp skit. I don't feel like.
What happened?
I don't actually know the point of it thinking back. And that's what's funny because that year of camp, that was one of the most memorable pieces. And normally you remember the point behind it or that there was some kind of story that
you're supposed to, but you're like, no, so-and-so was swinging panties.
That's all I remember is them swinging them around.
Oh my God.
Like doing like a gun hand motion, like a, what's the
Charlie's Angels?
Like Charlie's Angels situation. That's what it was like.
Me?
I'm not kidding. We're like 6th grade and under. So this isn't even like high school camp where it might be a little bit more funny. We were all just like, I don't know what's happening.
Would you do that in like a regular church service? Like, listen, the pastor's wife coming in and going,
It's a whole new meaning of waving flags.
there's never mind. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm sorry. That could go more than one direction.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys thought when I told you I had a panties to
Well, I didn't know. That's not what I
That's not what
Mm-mm.
I didn't really know what to think. I was like
I figured it was like pranks between all the students
Yeah.
or something, like stolen underwear, and like we did that
Right.
stuff all the time. Like we always got
to
in
bra
trouble.
in the freezer.
Oh yeah. Like we always got in trouble for.
why did you put a bra in the freezer?
You do that sleepovers. You like put their bra in water and put it in the freezer when they're sleeping. So wake up and have a bra to wear because it's in the freezer.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, y'all were so mean.
For real.
Like, was that literally your most memorable camp experience?
Not my most memorable, but it's one of the most interesting ones for sure.
Well, that would
and actually it's a pretty memorable one because I still am confused. I'm confused why it was chosen for that age group. I'm confused as to like these counselors are college age kids, which sometimes you don't have the best judgment when you're at a college age.
I had no judgment in college. Like I'm like
Gone to a bunch of sixth graders and thought this was a good idea.
no, I was at least mature enough to do that. But like no. Mm-mm. Like it always does kind of shock me. Like, and I get why it's not much older people because I'm like, you couldn't pay me to go to church camp now. Like,
yeah.
So I get why it's college age kids that are always like the counselors and stuff. But I'm like, half the crap I learned from them.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of unlearning still happening, right? And this was how long ago? Like one of my like most memorable church camp experiences was like the first night of this new camp. Our church had never gone to it before. We had gotten a new youth pastor. This was youth pastor number 3. And so I was like a freshman in high school. And so we're at this new camp, and the first night, the pastor got way more passionate than I think the camp owners thought he would, and said a lot of very bold things, right? And essentially it ended up becoming, I don't remember where the message started. It's like one of those things, like, I don't remember the point, but I remember this one point where he stopped like towards the end, and he was one of the red-faced pastors, when they like just get so mad, they're just a cherry, like ready to explode.
It still seemed to like the Lord.
It
That's
really
the nature
did.
of God.
Because I'm like, why is he so mad? Like, it was wild. Now, let me preface what I'm about to say. Like, what I'll share what he said, but like our group actually ended up not having much of a problem with what he said because we got the heart behind it. His delivery was way off, and we were literally the only group advocating for him to stay. Essentially, the camp asked him to leave after that. Like that night, they pulled him in and was like, "You are no longer welcome here."
Like, so the camp wasn't part of the church. It was just people who owned it, and you guys rented it.
So like a bunch of churches come together and go to this camp. So there's tons of churches involved. It's not just one church goes to nothing. So tons of churches came.
Yeah.
Right.
Like they
And
own
so-
this space and every church uses it.
Mhm.
Okay, got it.
So they'll have like several camps throughout the year, and you just like pick your time.
You pick your
And so the pastor, essentially, the point of his message was, actually, I don't know what the point of his message was. The thing that I remember was
He did a great job.
essentially called out in a room of 6th to 12th grade. So big age range, right? So we got some really young ones, and then we've got seniors in high school.
Yeah.
Now, this would have been perfectly geared, better geared, not perfect, better geared towards a high school camp, but we have a lot of young kids. And he essentially
That's a different
said, basically, I feel like he just called out the boys in that room, and it was awful. And he's like, all you want to do is stick your penis in my daughter's vagina, and I'm not having it, is essentially what he said. And we all went, like,
Are you
couldn't
kidding
hear,
me?
you could hear a pin drop. Like, it was
Where
awful.
where did he get triggered? Like, what happened?
Listen, I don't, that's
Like,
that's
did
the
he
whole point. We were like, we get the point behind, like, we got the like root of the message, but he didn't deliver that, right? Like, he said a lot of other things,
Yeah.
but it was one of those things. We all went back to our cabin after that, and even our leaders were like, listen, like, here's actually what was like needing to be said. I still don't know that I agree with what I don't remember what they said, because we're still like, I literally remember him, and he didn't even like close, no invitation. You know how they always have like a come to the front salvation moment. None of that. He literally just like walked out, and the band was sitting there like, do we play? Like, we don't know. What do we do? And so they started playing. Well, essentially when they asked the pastor to leave, the band left too. And so we had no band. And one of the guys from our group, very, very talented.
I'm like, you had a band at camp? That'd be cool.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I just spit.
I'll like walk your toes.
Like,
That's why we were just wiping this.
But it was so crazy. Like, everyone was like, what do we do?
Mhm.
And they were like, well, between some of the like leaders who were there, the youth pastors that had brought their teams there, they're like, we'll each kind of take a turn,
Mhm.
but what are we going to do for worship? And my youth pastor was like, I've got a kid.
Mhm.
He's crazy talented. Always wanted to lead worship. Like always wanted to be a worship leader. Do you mind if we throw him up there?
Mhm.
And this was actually
like,
after.
can't get worse at this point.
No, and he had actually led our whole youth choir when like we did like a whole youth choir trip out to California, and we'd done like a tour, like we did a whole thing out there and came back, and he led that. And so we're like, you've got it, like we got you, like we're backing you up. And so this kid who was like a sophomore, maybe a junior in high school, led worship for the whole youth
I think
camp.
that was the best worship you guys have ever had.
It was amazing, and everyone walked in scared to death. And so he was the first person they saw on stage after they asked that pastor to leave.
Yeah.
And so everyone was just like it was such an awkward experience and so memorable. Like it was so memorable for the wrong reasons, right? And like I've had a lot of amazing church camp experiences, but then I'm like, well, that's the most memorable. It's kind of sad, you know. It's crazy.
Wow. That's wild. I have no.
Yeah, you
church
didn't know
camp.
that was coming up.
No. But I have no church camp stories. The only church camp stories I have is of us, our Amish youth group going and cleaning their church camp so that they could actually have
So
it. In
lame.
No joke. Like
So unfair.
we literally made like this whole, and we dreaded it. We're like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Like we're gonna go do this because some dude made this, some older single guy in our community who used to be English but then became Amish had these connections to
Probably
this.
need to explain what English means.
So English means, in the Amish world, English means anybody who's not Amish, who's just a normal human being who's not Amish or Mennonite. You know, they're like in the world. They're basically not Amish. Anyway, I said that like 3 times over in a different order.
They got it. No,
Yeah, I hope you understood that at this point.
Point across.
Right. But like, no, I'm sorry, it wasn't him. It was somebody who would take the Amish places in their
Was it
car.
one of your drivers?
Yeah, one of our drivers who like their church had a camp, and they would always like ask the youth group leaders, who was usually a guy and his sister, like every was it year somebody new got voted in or whatever. And so they would ask the youth group leader, hey, you know, can you guys, and they would always say yes out of the kindness of their heart, but they knew, the youth group leader knew that everybody hated going because we would work our butt off. I mean, like it was like, and it was dirty, like it had been sitting there. I mean, there was dirt and dead rodents and like dead bugs, and like we had to clean all the dorm rooms and all the bathrooms, which was a ton of dorm rooms and bathrooms, the kitchens, and like we had to wash every
kitchens.
we had to watch what I think it was only actually one kitchen, but it was huge, like almost 2 kitchens.
Feed the whole camp.
Yeah, like it's like 2 kitchens in one kind of thing.
Yeah,
like sections of, you know, and we had to wash all of the Tupperware and the silverware and every single piece. And it was a lot of like containers and things and pots and pans. Wash everything, wash all the windows, wash all the floors. We had to do like landscaping, and it was usually like landscaping had not been kept up.
Yeah.
So it was like digging everything back up, mulching, like mowing, weed eating, trimming, like weed eating.
how long
like
did
trimming.
you take on that? Like how long were you
A
there?
whole day, literally from the
How
morning.
many of you were there?
And like 30-35 people.
I'm still impressed that it only took a day.
I am too.
Because I'm going like a week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, you don't understand Amish. That's why they had us come is because we worked like
They were like,
crazy.
we've sat and done nothing, so we need you to bust it out in a day.
And we did like good work. Like it was clean and it was well
We
done.
had to get to heaven.
Well,
All these kids had to do was come and repent and hear messages about.
yeah, like we basically made it possible for them to repent.
We set up the stage for you.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, but we would usually afterwards. Did we even have time to play volleyball? No, we didn't. We just
tired.
worked all day. Yeah, literally. And they like fed us like whatever it was that they would get, usually like pizza or something. And so like it was just, and the guys would be out in the like they had like some sheds and things that where they kept things, and the guys had to like make sure that the equipment was running and like, you know, do anyway. And so it was like, it wasn't just like guys and girls were like working together or whatever, but it was, you know, if there was equipment that needed to be fixed, the guys would do that. But I just remember like dreading that day every spring because we knew it was coming and we'd have to go, and we like took a day and we just, it was probably more like 40. I mean, there was a lot of people, but there was also a shit ton of work to be done. And like, then they expected us to do everything. Like, it wasn't like oh, we're thankful for what you're doing. I mean, they were thankful, but it was like, we're going to get as much out of you as we can.
Yeah.
And that attitude, I was like, like, you're
where
just
are child labor laws when you need them?
Yeah.
like it's like abusing somebody's talents and skills. Like, we're gonna make you use as much as we can get out of you.
Because you weren't paid for it.
No.
It was a
And we
volunteer,
were like-
volunteer thing. Volunteer.
We resented it. We're like, you're working us like mules over here because you want us to do all of your work while you literally do nothing. I'm like, this isn't even we don't even get to enjoy the benefits of this.
Yeah.
Anyway, that wasn't fun.
Bethany needs heart healing.
Like, now that we mention it,
Now that we're here,
Give my heart that needs some
yeah, we just, well, it's not fun being taken advantage of, you know, and like, anyway, so that's my camp experience.
Dang, that sucks.
Yeah.
Because oh my god, I do remember camp being a lot of fun.
Yeah.
it was so much fun.
How long was it usually? Like
5 days.
Like Monday to Saturday.
Okay.
Yes.
Was there like a service each day? Was there like schedules?
Twice, 3 times a day.
What?
3 services a day.
We had 2.
We had to get up. We had to clean our cabin. They came in. Here's the performance thing. You had to clean your cabin, and then they graded you, and you got points for your team based off from your cabin. And then if you wanted to get extra points, you had to do fancy things. So I remember us, like all of us girls, taking our flip-flops and putting like them in a heart and being like, we love you guys, on like our porch out there, and like raking the sand out front to make sure the sand even looked nice. Taking shaving cream and like writing notes to people like on the mirrors, but they had to be spotless, absolutely spotless, to get graded on our cabin to get points. And if it wasn't good, then we lost points for our team, because you had 2 separate teams happening all throughout camp where you're playing games and doing competitions and stuff. So we'd have that. They would check our cabins. Well, we had breakfast. After breakfast, you had a service. You had lunch and you had another service, and then you had dinner, and then you had another service. And that nighttime session was the one where you did for sure have to wear a skirt, which is so dumb. Like, you can wear your shorts the rest of the time, but we had to change into skirts. We had to change our clothes.
Did you do
Like,
anything?
you're gonna make
My
5th
skirt's
graders,
gonna make me pay attention.
well, like,
better.
you're gonna make 5th graders at camp go and change their, like, 4th grade, like it's so I mean, teenage girls, yeah, we want to bring a million outfits, but like when it comes down to like, I mean, because camp was for like 2nd grade on up or something, right? Like there was like high school and then like youth camp, right? But it just always seemed bizarre to me. And then like,
Did you ever do anything fun besides eat and
there was games and stuff, and there's free time. You had swim time, you know, the boys swim time and the girls swim time, set an hour apart.
Are
so
you
no one
serious?
accidentally fell.
Actually,
no
like
one
mine
actually
was not
fell.
ever that strict.
Yeah, so they were our gap in between, because I didn't want anyone to accidentally be walking back and forth and see each other without a shirt on or in a swimsuit.
So
So
was there restrictions on what kind of swimsuit you could wear?
Yeah.
Oh,
you'd
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you'd have a 1-piece swimsuit.
You
or
can't wear a
tankini.
2-piece, or it has to be
Yeah.
a tankini.
No torso showing.
Are you kidding me?
There. And yeah, I'm like, what are other pieces of camp? I do remember this one year. You guys know I always go to the outfit things because I feel like that was my teenage
You're
years.
like, that's what I got harped
That's
on
what
all
I
the
heard
time.
them. But they had one time halfway through camp. So there was always a rule that like top of your knees for shorts, right? Which thankfully in that time frame is when Bermuda shorts were in, so it made it a little bit easier, like the plaid
See, I
Bermuda
was
shorts.
out of church camp before
Yeah,
Bermuda.
like we're right
shorts,
off by a
yes.
few years.
Yeah, we never had that. We just always got in trouble.
So
I mean, then again, we were also wearing the Sophie cheerleading shorts that were like rolled down.
oh yeah, like rolled down and pulled way up
to show the
your
like,
cheeks are
yeah.
showing your hip bones. Yeah,
We got in so much trouble.
we'll Google them.
We'll-
And show you
I'll
Sophie
show
shorts.
you.
They're coming back. I've seen them.
I know, I saw that. And I
Sophie
went,
shorts. Yeah.
oh dear.
And so I remember one year that partway through the week, they pulled everyone out into the field before game time and they said, hey, after we're done here, I think it was after the end of a game time, after we're done here, like there's a new rule set in place where they're like, because we've seen too many girls, we're seeing too many bra straps with your tank tops. And so there's, you're gonna cause all the boys to stumble. I don't know what they're tripping over a bra strap, but you're at camp, these boys are tripping anyways. And so they made this new rule that no one could wear tank tops. I'm like, how do you go halfway through camp
when that's all they
the
packed?
clothes you have? And they're like, well, your counselors can give you t-shirts. So like
so all of a sudden I didn't have to pack. You just had like clothes for me.
Yeah. And so it was a whole thing. And I remember fighting like crazy. And a lot of people threw a fit because we're like, first of all,
It's 100 and
You're-
what out here.
you're objectifying our bodies, like,
Mhm.
right? And all of a sudden it's our problem that our bra straps are showing. We can just not wear bras if you want. That's my plan these days.
Like on that note, we're getting rid of all of it.
What now? Gotta find something else.
But like just like breaking up the rules and stuff and of it constantly getting tighter and tighter. So that was an interesting.
Like I always
Memory.
remember that letter being sent home to your parents. Like we'd go to church Sunday morning, like before youth camp or the week before. So we had like a whole week to prepare of like, hey, here's all the packing things you need to take, like bug spray, sunscreen, da 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 da. And then of course there's always this huge section like only one piece bathing suits or tankinis would be allowed. Boys have to wear da 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 da. And then of course like the girls list is like forever long. Because you have to make sure it's not a spaghetti strap. Straps have to be like 2 or 3 fingers wide and like
So
all
far
these,
from your collarbone and
we never talked on collarbone, which
This
they
sounds
probably
like
should
the
have.
Amish, but just a different version.
Trade the knees for ankles and you got it.
Mhm.
No, but like
Lord.
elbows for
there was
shoulders.
always a list. There's definitely always a list of things. It definitely never, like there were some times that it was really hard. It was really hard to pack because like being in a small West Texas town, there's literally one store that you can buy like somewhat decent clothing
Yeah.
at, right? And so we'd have to make special trips to come to Amarillo to shop.
Yeah.
And it was like, how much money are we going to spend on top of what we spent to send this kid to church camp? Like,
Right.
how much more are we going to spend just on clothes that she's not going to wear the rest of the summer?
Mhm. I remember my mom, she would take and like buy me jean shorts and then she would like sew lace on the bottom or something because like I liked to look cute. My mom wanted me to like feel good and look cute, right? Like there were girls that would just like buy like men's basketball shorts, or I had friends with their moms would make them culottes
Oh God.
to wear to camp. But my mom's like, I wanted to still feel good and like look cute, like, and if I want to buy her new clothes, I wanted to wear them again. So she would do that where she'd like sew a cute lace onto the bottom of the shorts if she needed to. So they were at least like cute looking.
That's so funny.
Oh my gosh. I'm like getting educated and also triggered all at once.
She's like, I thought you English people had more freedom.
Well, apparently some of them don't. Like, I really feel like the Baptists and the Amish are so freaking similar. It's kind of scary
Yeah.
or like eerie or weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is.
That
All-
that split hasn't split very far.
No.
But
What the
what's
heck?
the most interesting thing though to think back on now being where I am now in my faith, as to look at the different sermons they had. And especially it's like it was always the night service was so much more dramatic. Like so much more of this, we need you all to make a decision for your purity. Like you ended camp with you got saved again. Every year.
Came back and rededicated your life to Jesus.
Yes. Decided to start obeying your parents.
I never decided that.
You made it.
I've never made that decision.
No, I didn't.
So they made us write it in the front of our Bible. So I've got multiple Bibles with these decisions made, and clearly I didn't stick for more
White
than
out.
a year.
No,
But you would have to make a decision to go
Kidding.
into full-time ministry.
the missionary
The
night.
the
The
mission- yeah.
missionary ministry night.
Um,
Are you kidding?
the
Oh, there. Anyway, I'll tell in a second.
like, to stay pure until marriage. There was that one too, always. And all of these, like,
To fourth graders.
I don't remember as a kid exactly what they talked about.
No.
We probably just got saved over and over again. And decided to obey our parents. I don't remember. But I just remember like sitting
Read your
at the
Bible
volleyball
every
court
day.
and like people sitting there with friends that were like crying for them not obeying their parents. And I think back to that, I'm like, how ridiculous. You send your kid off to camp and they're there crying because the
You
pastor
sent them to camp to feel guilty about not listening to
Way
you.
to traumatize your kids.
Did you have fun? What did you send me?
What did you tell them to say to me?
Gosh.
So I was thinking back to like, don't get me wrong, camp was fun. I had a ton of fun. It was a riot. You came up with no voice from screaming for your team. Like we played lots of games.
Came back like a lobster because you're like sunburned.
Yeah.
Like no.
Like so many new friends, right? Pen pals, things like that. But it's just interesting to think back in those aspects of like what you send kids to camp for and like what the decisions I made. I'm not a missionary, by the way.
Was that your thing?
I'm not a pastor's wife either.
For shame.
Pastor's wife.
Oh,
For shame,
Well,
Berlin.
no, I thought I was gonna be a pastor's wife because women can't have a voice, and it's the closest you could get to actually being in a position that was important, right?
Are you? Oh my.
So my
gosh.
thought was pastor's wife. Then I can
Well,
have some kind of
shouldn't be
voice
surprised
and some
because-
kind of authority in something.
So ours was never a pastor's wife. Are you going to be a missionary? Are you called to be a pastor? Or are you called to be a prayer warrior? And I'm
Oh, I
like,
want to puke on my
gag me
shoes.
with a
I mean, we were just praying that God's will would be done anyway, so you can't really work for that.
no lie detected on that one. Oh my gosh. So one more thing about that.
God, please do whatever you want. Amen.
make me not be mad about what you want to do.
He's like, that's
Make
on
me
you.
complacent.
Make me complacent.
Turn me into a robot. Amen.
I mean, really, like when you read between the lines of some of those prayers, like back to the purity culture part of like what they taught. I remember one night in worship, my youth pastor grabbed his wife and started dancing. And this is at a Baptist church.
Yeah, it's not.
What?
So no, but listen, it was the same pastor that got kicked out. This was the same year. I remember more of that camp than I thought.
Wait, he was dancing?
No, my youth pastor, not the guy that taught,
Oh.
not the pastor that taught. My youth pastor grabbed his
Oh.
wife and like danced.
I was like, what?
No, like, and I don't know what worship song was playing, but like they started slow dancing, and he's like, we always talk about how you're not supposed to dance, but that's not necessarily true. But did you see the way that happened? Like, and basically was saying like dancing should be for like marriage. And I'm like, first off, no. Second off, no. Like, no. No. But like basically it was like you don't need to like don't dance with anybody, because the whole thing about dancing is like stirring up desires and all this stuff. And so that might have been where the message like ended up going. That might have been the
You
whole
can
purpose of
just
this message.
go.
But like
I was gonna make a comment.
but it's so, I think back and I'm like, he like made a point, and I thought he was like gonna call him out on like that not being a right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like in our town, we weren't super strict on it. We were like, listen, we're not against dancing. Like our church was never necessarily like, absolutely not. But we're like, watch the way you're like, just be conscious of what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I agree.
We're not
I still
twerking
agree.
over here.
Right. Well, twerking wasn't a thing back in the
That's
day.
true.
So,
Nicki Minaj.
But I didn't have
Yeah.
a name.
but
Once Nicki Minaj left her Baptist, that's when she was.
was she Baptist though?
I don't
Okay,
know.
hold on though, because I'm like wildly intrigued.
Like
with this.
the wool over your eyes.
I was like, I don't know that that's true, but I'm like
but
intrigued.
if we look it up and she was, I will.
Somebody's
lose.
prophetic. But yeah,
She does.
she has a Christian song. I don't know what it is.
It's good,
We'll have to look it up.
Okay.
We have an audience today.
Yes.
Just so you know.
Over here.
Just so you know, we
hanging
have an
out.
audience. But
More
we're not
than
just
you.
talking to the wall.
No.
We're not that. We're, church
The wall is not talking back.
Well, good talk.
Church camp didn't drive us that crazy.
The people like I heard it too, so in that case I'm crazy.
What is that?
Jesus is a woman.
We haven't hit that episode yet, just so you know, we recorded out.
Okay, well,
So subscribe.
Yes.
Come back in a couple weeks.
no, that joke will make sense.
Yes.
Then you can laugh then. Laugh twice. But I think it's really funny, some of the narratives that we're taught. And I do agree that it was always like this big buildup throughout the day. And it's actually been something that's come up lately.
Yeah, I'm tired and emotional and worn out.
Exactly. No, that's like a whole thing. Like,
And then
there's-
tell them they're going to hell if they don't
And, like,
do something.
literally to elicit this big emotional response. And I do think there's camps that do that. But I also think there's a lot of camps that just really want a lot of kids to have fun, but also get to know Jesus. And I don't think any of them do it perfectly, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a perfect way. And so, like, I don't hold anything against any of the people that like
Right.
taught at my camp or took me to certain camps or anything like that, right? Like,
They did the best they
I
could.
learned a lot.
Yeah,
Like, and I
it's
had a
fun.
lot of fun. Like, I don't regret any of it. And it actually introduced me to what it means to even like be passionate about following and loving Jesus,
Mhm.
right? I was still scared to death of God, but Jesus is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
He saved you from God. So
yeah, he was
okay.
saving me from God. So, you know, there was that. But
Wow.
yeah, do y'all have any other last minute?
No, I'm
Tidbits?
just over here like, what in the world? I got a whole
Where did you
education.
go? You're like, I didn't know that's what happened when we left.
Yeah. I don't think I want to go back.
We need adult church camp.
Oh, and redeem
They call it
everything.
family camp.
No,
So
screw
you gotta
that. I'm
take
not
their
taking my
kids.
kids.
No,
No, I'm talking
No.
us.
Yes.
Without kids.
Yeah, we can do our
Let's
own.
do it.
They go on a girls trip.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. No, sure.
it's true.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Let's do it.
I don't want to
Okay, we take back the no kid thing.
go.
Yeah,
The wall just told us that she wants to go too. So
We bring the wall.
not just coming up with a piece of
Drywall.
Like the wall's coming with us, guys.
Oh my
Oh my goodness.
For real.
So I hope, like, if you have fun camp stories, like, we want to
Yes.
know. Let us know. I'm really intrigued to see what all your
Or if something
experiences
got
were.
thrown out, tell us
You know,
that
did they
too.
kick out the pastor? Did they kick
Right.
out you?
Yeah.
You know, did they kick out?
Hey, listen, I don't have any experience and I want to hear all the stories. And like, give it
She's
to
like,
me.
if this is what's possible,
yeah,
what else?
what
could
else happened?
So let us know in the comments. Be sure to rate your favorite episode. Let us know
Mhm.
how we're doing. We want to know. We want to
Yeah.
make sure we're making episodes that you guys love. But subscribe so you can find out the joke about Jesus being a woman.
Actually, it's not a joke. Well, I mean, she made a joke. You made the joke, but the episode isn't a
Like,
joke.
unsubscribe right now.
I know. Go too far. Don't be offended yet until you hear what we actually have to say. No, but we thank you guys for listening, and we will see you guys next week.
Later.